Okay, this is Nick from Ohio.
Nick from Ohio, home of J.D. Vance.
Yes, unfortunate. It was very sad that my first election I could vote in, I had to vote against J.D. Vance and he won, so still pretty disappointed about that to this day.
Well, you'll have a chance to vote against him again, and maybe he'll lose this time.
I really hope so. It'd really make me proud of my home state if we were to do away with him for good. I wanted to call about something that I think isn't really being talked about a lot when it comes to the Kamala Harris campaign that I think is really interesting. I think that obviously people have talked about how she has a really big chance to turn out youth voters here, especially if she begins to make a turn to a significantly more support for the Palestinian people. But and I think I have faith that she'll do that in the coming months. At least that might be my naive hope. I don't know. But I think something that hasn't been really talked about is how her recent social media campaign has been really, at least from what I've been seeing, really motivating for a lot of people, younger people my age. I'm 20 years old, and several people that I have known who were incredibly demotivated when it came to voting for Biden and were considering not even showing up, have recently been invigorated by her presence on social media like TikTok and whatnot. And I do think that if she were to make an effort to swing to, again, like I said, more support for the Palestinian people and ending the genocide that's happening there, I think that in tandem with her current efforts on TikTok could really, really mobilize the youth that in a way that I think hasn't really been seen in a while. So I just wanted to talk about that.
I mean, I think it's possible. I think, look, the primary problem that Biden was facing, and as much as I would have liked the primary problem for him to have been facing was his policy in terms of Israel and Gaza. There's just simply, on some level, we may be engaging in some level of wish casting that, reading the tea leaves and seeing that her rhetoric is different and that's going to mean a material difference. There's also a certain amount of wish casting in that what was dragging Biden down was his stance on Israel. It certainly wasn't helping, that's for sure. But the reality is, if you look at the polling, even with young people, to the extent that they considered that a top issue, it was pretty low down on the list. As much as I, wish that wasn't the case. The biggest issue was just that, broadly speaking, people looked at Biden, and particularly after that debate, prior to it, people are like, he seems really old. And on some level, I think people feel like he was out of touch just by virtue of him being old. A lot of the problem he was having with voters was people who are just not that heavily interested in politics, and who don't think of a presidency as meaning, who are they putting at the DOJ? Who are they putting at the FTC? Who are they putting at the EPA? Who are they putting on the Postal Service, the Postal Service Board? Or, what are they doing about this sort of, what are they doing about exports for liquid natural gas permits? I mean, that's not the way that most people engage with politics. People who listen to the show are different, in part because they listen to the show, but it's also self-selecting. They listen to the show because they have a different understanding of politics. And so I think the biggest issue with Biden is he was suppressing enthusiasm to vote against Donald Trump. Because
right. Well, the double hater thing, Sam, that I said to you before the show, that Nate Cohn of the New York Times had there was 20% of people said that they hated both. Harris has already cut that down from 20% to 8%.
Yeah, that's a crazy figure. I mean, it's conceivable that 1 or 2% of those are like, well, now I don't hate, I don't hate Trump as much because I really hate, the large percentage of those people, obviously, if not all of them, basically are just like, I don't have an animosity towards Harris. Part of it was her age. Part of it was probably also, they've had 3 years to work on Biden, and the machine, the right-wing machine that creates these memes or, these ideas, it's far more effective than it was years and years ago. And maybe it only takes 3 years before you can fully demonize someone like Biden, regardless of what was happening in Gaza, because certainly on the right, they didn't care about that. But so I think, there's a big burst of relief. I think she is she represents not just a younger, a person running for president than, obviously Obama was young too, but he combined with a member of the boomer generation, and she's not going to. This is like, in many respects,
when Biden was trying to be like, I'm still, relatable to young folks by doing that dark Brandon thing. And I think that to an extent it was a little funny. And I think it worked the tiniest bit, but the issue is that he would do that, and then the next day you'd watch him and he wouldn't be able to form a coherent sentence. And it just felt like, I can't really feel like I felt like a lot of people my age, especially the people I know who don't really stay connected to politics too much, they'd see that and just think I don't know what's going on here. I'm not enthusiastic about this whatsoever. And Kamala Harris, even though again she's only I think she's 60, I don't remember.
She's 59. Yeah, but she looks 59? Younger. Yeah.
Yeah, I think even regardless of that, people who I know who aren't connected to politics, again, who are my age, they are getting these I think her social media campaign has honestly been pretty good in terms of rallying enthusiasm. And I think part of that is just the relief that everyone feels. But people I know people I know are excited to go out and vote. And I saw a number earlier today about how there was 44,000 people who registered to vote in the past few days.
Well, they're having these calls, right? There was black women for the 40,000 black women on the night she announced. Then there's a black men for Harris. There was a white woman call that got even larger. It's a little, silly, but the black woman call was about, black sororities and organizations getting out the vote for her, as opposed to whitely. I don't really know how that went down, but you're right about the enthusiasm, and I find excitement in that in and of itself. I think democracy can be energizing for the party that actually represents the majority of the country. The Republicans are a minoritarian party, and actually, regardless of what we know fully about her stances right now, the fact that there's a coalition of people who are excited and she stands for things that are broadly beneficial to this country is a good thing. But I know I'm just a soft-hearted, sentimental person. But for me, there's value in democracy in and of itself, and that's what's exciting.
And I just want to add, before I let you go, that, approaching 60, not that old. It's possible it's not that old.
Yeah, it's just...
What makes you say that, Sam?
Sometimes to people who are 20 years old, it seems a little steep, but I think it's actually a
I get it.
I think it's a testament to her
ability. I get it. It's a little steep.
Yeah.
I get it if you're about approaching 20. I get it. Yeah, no, I get it. But I'll tell you, it's not that old. All right, appreciate the call.
All right, thank you.
Bye-bye. Hey, folks, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and check out our daily show. We do it every day at 12 p.m. Eastern for about 2.5 hours. We even take phone calls. You should check that out.